Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Viva La Vulva podcast. I am your host, Dr. Cara Quant, and I want to thank you for joining me today. Today is always a special day because I don't record too often. So when I do record, it is for someone important. So I have with me Taujma Hall, who is a certified holistic nutritional counselor and a good friend of mine. And she is doing raw vegan right. She's written a book, and I want to dive into it a little bit more. But first, I want to have you introduce yourself to the audience, Taj.
Hello, Viva La Vulva, and thank you, Cara. I am Taujma Hall, also known as Taj. I have been plant-based now for 6 years, and off and on I do raw vegan, but currently I am raw plant-based, high fruitarian, and I've been on the journey for over a year. It's beautiful. I love it. Live in Los Angeles and love traveling to the Caribbean. Love fruits, love healing, holistic health, supporting women, children, couples, families, etc.
I love it.
Yeah.
The actually let's just dive into it. What made you want to go? You said it's not raw vegan, it's raw, or it's like mainly plant-based.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
High plant-based.
high plant-based. So
Mm-hmm.
what made you want to start that journey?
Yeah. So I
Especially
was.
living in the US and with manufacturing all types of processed foods and so many temptations in the stores and all that stuff. Like what made you decide to do this?
Yeah. So I moved to Los Angeles when I was 17 to pursue fashion. I went to FITM alumni, and working in the fashion industry, it was a lot of hustle and bustle. I was really sick, and fibromyalgia, Graves, hypothyroidism, migraines like every day, dysmenorrhea. I was really sick, but I hid a lot of it. You would never know. I'd show up to castings or photo shoot, and you wouldn't know because I hid the pain so well. Or I'd go to the urgent care and get Toradol shots to ease the pain. So in 2019, I decided, look, this is it. I don't want to be sick anymore. I'm so young. I don't want to feel like this. And I just Googled like universe. I was sitting in my loft apartment and universe was like, Google fibromyalgia healer. And I did that, and I ran into a somatic therapist named Bernie Soon, who recently passed away. And I told her my story. I read her Twitter, and I was like, "Look, I know you can help me. You've helped other people. You've healed yourself." And she said, "I don't think I can help you, but I know someone who can." And I was actually already vegan, but I was junk food, dirty vegan. I was eating a lot of processed foods, and I still wasn't getting better. So I called Dr. Littman, who Bernie referred me to, and she actually transitioned me into what I am now. And Dr. Littman also transitioned. She was my mentor, a great friend of mine, practitioner that loved, loved, loved what she did. And she did a nutrition test on me, a sensitivity test. And she said, "Look, I know you're quote unquote vegan and you're not eating chicken or seafood anymore, but you got to cut out the soy, you got to cut out the refined sugar." I went home that day and I threw out all the ketchup, mustard, anything with the ingredients. Yeah, anything with ingredients that I couldn't pronounce, I threw it away.
Yeah.
Anything with the package and the scan bar, the barcodes, pretty pictures, I threw it out. And I just started learning about whole foods, plant-based, and healing with herbs.
Dang.
Mhm.
So I actually remember, Taj and I know each other through my brother Jeremy.
Mhm.
And I remember years ago you hit me up and you're like, hey, like I'm dealing with fibromyalgia. Like, what do doctors do for like what is the
Mhm.
treatment for fibromyalgia? And I was like telling you, like, oh, it's this and that, and it's usually like things that act on the brain.
Mhm.
And you like took that information, and I am happy that you went like another way of wanting to do things. Like I applaud people who are like, you know what, I don't want the Western medicine. I don't want the pills that have been
Mhm.
manufactured in a lab, and like I want to do it the best way that I can. So I definitely applaud you for pursuing that journey of like whole plant-based food.
Absolutely. Thank you. And your input was really supportive for me. And during that time, I was like, look, all suggestions, I'm here to soak it all up so I can then do my own research and see what works for me. So your input was really important.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And what kind of got me, so the reason why we're having this conversation is I have been wanting to do raw vegan, for a while. I saw this YouTube video that my dad sent me recently, and it was a cardiologist, and a pharmacist, who had, the board certified, all that stuff. Yeah, board certification. And they were having a discussion about raw vegan and how they put their patients on these like uh, raw raw vegan for a little while diet or lifestyle, to help with reducing diabetes, to help with reducing their blood pressure, to help with like decreasing their LDLs for their cholesterol. So all of these things that we usually or traditionally prescribe medicines for, they've seen, plant-based lifestyle can help with all of those conditions. And so I was like, you know what? I am still on the baby journey, still want to get pregnant with my wife. And so I was hitting up Taj, like, have you seen other people, like in the situation, even as a doctor, even as a medical doctor, board certified internal medicine, like I still want to go the holistic approach. I still want to do something different. So I decided to do this cleanse for a couple weeks. And so Taj is helping me out and has given me a PDF. And I bought her book, Healthier Options, which we'll get into in a bit. And it has really been very helpful for what is going on. I mean, it's been really helpful. It's been really helpful. So how has this journey changed your life?
This journey has changed my life tremendously. Like I said, I was really sick. So once I started to feel my thyroid glands like go to normal, and once I started to feel like, oh, I can sleep better, I'm not getting migraines, acne. So physically and internally, I could feel a big shift in how my body was transitioning and changing after I detoxed, after those first few days of being on a cleanse, and doing raw fruits. So it's changed not only like physically, but internally, also with the mental. There's so many ways to heal and so many paths that you can take on this journey. So my concentration levels, sleep patterns, so much better. Like I would sweat when I sleep. I'd have really crazy, wild dreams. I'd wake up in the middle of the night having to use the restroom and then couldn't go back to sleep. It's helped me mentally, emotionally, for sure, because I was so depressed when I was sick. And that depression leads to, down a big rabbit hole like anything else. So now I have purpose to live. Like I feel really good, internally. So I have more energy. I don't feel sluggish. And it's allowed me to really feel like, wow, this is what the body was meant to feel like. know, like we weren't meant to feel tired all the time and sluggish and brain fog. And it's also changed my life financially as well. I was buying salmon and seafood, and I'm like, oh, this is expensive.
It is expensive.
and going out to eat with friends. That's also been a big change where I don't go out to eat often. I'm just like, hey, come over, I'll prepare food, or let's just eat fruits at the park. Let's go to the beach. And it's just changed in my entire like day to day and internally, my surroundings. I'm thankful for it for sure. Whenever I travel, it's like, oh, I don't have to, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm like, nope, I can go explore. Don't have to worry about eating because I don't have those cravings. And my relationship towards food has shifted so much, where I don't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I eat when I'm hungry. And I don't eat when the sun is down, or try not to eat when the sun is down. Just for proper digestion of the digestive system. So it's changed a lot, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how did you? Because I feel like food and communing with others is like such a big part. I mean, I guess socially, families, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like you're gathering around a table and you're like, feasting on the food that other people have brought in, or so like how did that change? Like, how did you get past that? Because I feel like that's such a big thing. Because I mean, even during the time that I've been doing the cleanse, I haven't really been hanging out with people because I'm like, there's too many temptations out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. And we pleasure eat so often, especially in our society. It's a lot of pleasure eating, because of the relationship towards food, or no relationship towards food at all, right? So how I got past it was I show up to the potluck with something that I prepared that I know I could eat, and in a large amount, enough to share with others. So that's what I do. I bring whatever I can consume and eat, and I'm there for the love. I'm there for the family, the connection, right? Like, let's converse. I'm not necessarily there for the food, although food brings us together. And I think it's one of those things where, as long as you are being intentional about what you're eating, then there's going to be options for you, right? And you bring whatever you want to eat, and that's what I've been able to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you've definitely bought some, stuff to family. I mean, I do remember you bringing foods and meals prepared by you to family
Mhm.
gatherings, and they have been good. And it's
Yeah,
like, ooh, like I can't believe that this is plant-based. I can't
yeah,
believe that this is like actually tasty and not, like a drab like salad, or just
yeah,
like something that doesn't have much flavor. I think that
yeah.
that's what people think. They equate like vegan or like plant-based to like not a lot of flavor.
Mhm.
And I don't think that anymore. I mean, I didn't think that before, but I don't think that anymore. Especially during this cleanse right now.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into your book, called Healthier Options. When did you create it and what made you create this book?
Yeah, so I created Healthier Options in 2019. I started as a journal of me documenting the foods that I would eat. After I saw Dr. Littman, I I was like, all right, it's time to go be very, very strict. It's life or death for me. And I have to get this under wraps. So I started journaling what I was eating, what time I was eating, how much of it. So I pretty much started in 2019. And then in 2020, I started sharing my journey socially, publicly, on social media with friends and family. And then I started learning a lot about the herbs and the blends and what was supportive for me. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, what is that? What are you making? What type of food is that? So that's when I really started. Healthier Options was in 2020 when I started sharing publicly, and it was received well. It wasn't all raw. I was still, eating cooked foods, but it was mainly alkaline based ingredients. And the love I was getting, right? I made my first big alkaline, right, Friendsgiving in 2020. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, because I started cooking in the kitchen when I was 8. As a love, and I always saw my parents in the kitchen, and we always cooked, and it's family. So when folks were asking me, hey Tosh, can you share the recipes, then I sat down and I said, all right, let me get my analytical brain on, and let me start writing out the recipes and turning this journal into something that I could share publicly for others. And the process of the book was very tedious, but afterwards, and seeing it and being able to share it, the colors in the book and the ingredients and the juice and smoothie combinations, I really put a lot of effort into it, and the accumulation of years of what I was doing and being able to share that, my childhood recipes, things I used to eat as a child, where when I was transitioning from junk food vegan to more alkaline, plant-based, and now to raw, it took me on a journey of like, wow, what are the things that I'm missing? And I was reminiscing about, the foods in my family, like my lasagna. And I'm like, wow, I really miss the lasagna, but how can I make this healthy for me so I'm not triggered or having symptoms of inflammation? So that's what I did. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, bring me or take us back to the alkaline, you said the alkaline Friendsgiving. Like alkaline foods?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what did you make?
Yeah. So instead of, our normal traditional yam, I started noticing that sweet potatoes I thought they were good for me, but they were still causing me some bloating, inflammation, some starchiness, which is converting to sugar in my body. So instead of using the yam or a sweet potato, I would substitute that with the butternut squash. So I would just take all the traditional, dishes, and I would study and turn them into alkaline, like what was more alkalizing for my body and what could I digest. Instead of the macaroni and cheese, instead of using dairy and butter and dairy cheese, I would just substitute for nut butter. I would substitute and make my own, like everything from scratch. I would make nut cheeses out of Brazil nuts or hemp seeds. I wouldn't use anything that had a barcode that you could scan with ingredients. Everything was from scratch. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I applaud you for this. I have been doing this for now a week, and I was telling you before we got on that I had a dream actually today, this morning, about me in line in the store about to buy a Rice Krispie treat. And I like never eat Rice Krispie treats, but it happened to be that I was buying the, one in the blue wrapper Rice Krispie treat. And I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to tell my wife about like me, like cheating on this, like, detox that we're doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
How am I going to do this? And yes, Ellie, my wife is also doing the cleanse, which is very helpful. I think you definitely need a partner, an accountability partner to be a part of it with you, because let me tell you, during the first couple of days, it was not that easy.
Yeah.
It was not easy. Yeah. When did you feel like you started seeing the benefits of this like change, this transition of the dirty vegan to the healthy vegan? Like, was it like days? Was it weeks? Was it months?
It
Was
was
it all the above?
it was instantly. It was instantly, honestly. Like I would say 2 days afterwards, because I saw Dr. Lippman in 2019 and I went home, I threw everything out. And I remember that day I just had a salad. And then the next day I had nothing but fruits. And then I was like, okay, I want cooked food, right? And she never suggested raw vegan to me. I didn't even know what that was. Honestly, I just knew that, hey, I wasn't eating meat, but I was still eating the fake meats, and the fake burgers and the fake cheese. So once I cut all those out, it was like my body just was like, yay, thank you so much. We can breathe now. We can breathe. And my bones and my body could, when I went to go do my workouts and exercises, I was like, wow, I'm not stiff anymore. My hamstrings aren't tight, my calves aren't sore. So it was, and maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but I would say overnight, honestly. I know that's probably really not the case, but it felt like overnight because I was like, wow, and I called Jay and I was like, Jay, I haven't had an episode in months, I haven't had a flare up of fibromyalgia or anything in 3 months, in 4 months. And then I was like, dang, it's been 6 months. And then I just lost track of it. I'm like, wow, it's been a year. It's been this. And then that's when I did my first raw fruit fast, where I ate nothing but seeded fruits for 21 days. And that to me was like, oh, this is what fruitarian lifestyle is. And I was like,
fruitarian.
Yeah, I was like, this is phenomenal. My body absolutely loved it. And it was never the goal for me to do raw plant-based or, fruitarian. It was just what my body wanted. So I honored that. And I felt great. I knew I wasn't lacking anything because I'd studied my relationship with food. I'd studied the nutrients. And Dr. Lippman shared with me, she said, your body actually doesn't need the quote unquote protein you think it needs. She shared more about minerals with me. And then I started studying Dr. Laila Africa, Dr. Sebi, reading books, connecting with them personally with Dr. Laila Africa before he passed, and studying, taking courses, and just learning one-on-one Dr. Lippman. And she tells me, she's like, Taj, share this with people now, like share it, and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, start the community, write a book about it. And I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal. Because I knew I wasn't feeling like this before. So I knew I could heal myself and I knew I could feel better, right? I was like, no, I'm not stuck like this. I'm not stuck with migraines. I'm not stuck with throwing up when I'm coming on my cycle every single time and severe cramping. I'm like, this is not normal for me to be in an urgent care every month, So that's when I said, I get to honor my body. And the more I put in heavy cooked oils, heavy fried foods, I'm going to continue to have those problems. Right. So it was a discipline for me, but it was also life or death. And I said, you know what, I choose to live. So let me go ahead and take on the journey.
I love that. And going back to your comment about, it was overnight, I do feel that way. And during the cleanse, like, I feel like even the next day, I wasn't so bloated. Like, I wasn't so bubbly, like my stomach. Actually, I feel like my stomach has been flattening out definitely over these last 7 days. I mean, I've lost 8 pounds already in it. So I'm like, okay, I know. And I'm also thinking about like the after, like once I'm done with this. But that's another. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, no, I felt like I was less bloated. I felt like the first night I had really good sleep. And I've had really good sleep ever since. Like, I feel like I usually get up like a couple times a night, go to the bathroom. I feel like my sleep has been more balanced. So I feel like, I mean, even in the 7 days, but even the first day, I felt like I felt better. Now now I'm not going to say that this was, like just magic and fairies and ponies, because like I definitely had a headache and my wife did too. Ellie had a headache and we were like, oh my God, are we going to be able to like last this 2 weeks of us doing this cleanse? Like, this is a lot. Like, this is, we're like barely eating. I'm hungry. it's 10 o'clock. Like, I usually go for something. Sometimes I'll go for something late. And over these last couple of days, like you've had it in your in the cleanse of like a schedule, and you also incorporate like intermittent fasting. So started eating at 11, stopping eating at 7, and I feel like after 7, 8, 9, I'm like not hungry. I'm not. I don't have the cravings per se. I mean, yes, when I see somebody with,
Yeah.
like when I see TV, when I watch TV and see all the freaking advertisements for food, I'm like, ooh, that looks good. But still in my body, I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like, you're gonna be fine. You have had your nutrients for the day. Like you're eating sufficient for your body. Like, there's no harm being done to you.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's that little like voice in my head that's like the soft voice that is slowly getting me through. On top of my wife, on top of another friend actually who's doing this also. So it has been definitely helpful to have some people around that are doing it also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I love, the community and the group detoxing where we can all support each other. For me, I was, I was single when I went on the journey and living by myself. So I think that might have been a little easier for me because I didn't have the temptation of anyone else trying to say like, hey, let's go out to eat. Or or like, oh, you're doing this. So, I didn't want to think about what anyone else was doing. I was like, look, I just want to heal me right now. But I love couples cleansing, families, right? Buddies, like best friends, like let's all thrive and heal together because it's essential for our well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now tell me, like, for you, was there ever a point where you're like, F this, like I'm just gonna like go back to eating either the dirty vegan stuff that I was eating or like craving a burger or I don't know, like did you ever have those thoughts and act on them?
So that's a really good question. And the answer is no, because I've been so addicted to the results and how good I feel and that it actually works for me. And like I've been so disgusted by anything other than what I'm doing. So I never was like, dang, I don't want to do this anymore. It's tough because since day one, it's always worked. I've seen a drastic change in my life and my energy, sexual health, mental, emotional, everything physical. It's been phenomenal. So I've honestly become addicted to how good I feel. Every day is not sunshine and rainbows, because there's so many ways to healing. The environment that we live in, especially in the US and living in the city, it still has an effect on our health too. But when it comes to food, I know I have control over what I put inside of my body, on my body. So no, I never wanted to go back. I never. The thing that more so for me is cooked food because I'm not 100% raw. It's it's the maybe dried fruits or the nuts and seeds, right? That crunchiness that sometimes I still get where I'm like, dang, I want to crunch on something, so I'll pick up nuts and seeds, and if I want something crunchy, or I'll have like my little nori sheets, right? But no, for fake meats, it literally it puts a yucky taste in my mouth, and I'm just like gross. And I also know what it's gonna do to me, so it's almost like if you touch fire, you're gonna get burned, right? So like that the conscious consuming of like, hey, why touch it if you know you're gonna get burned? It's gonna hurt you, so why do it? So I really I broke the food addiction of sugar and starch and all the things that I craved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was thinking, after this 2 weeks, like what am I going to do? Like it does feel good in my body to to do this, like to eat fruits and to make a salad and to your was it the butternut squash dip is like really good, and we've kind of like made it into like a soup, and so
Nice.
and so it has been really good. I mean, I think that there's still parts of it that are like, oh, like a
Yep.
another salad again or another,
Yep.
so mixing it up is really helpful. And so that's the reason why your book is helpful for us right now, because it's like, okay, let's like try something else in this book. Like let's do something different. But I definitely think that the butternut squash has been carrying us carrying us
Yeah.
through. The butternut
Yeah.
squash soup has been carrying us through. But I mean the fruits, like the smoothies, we've done smoothies in the morning time. Those have been like really good and refreshing. And we usually did smoothies in the morning, but they generally have protein powder in them. And the first thing that my wife was asking was like, "Oh, can we still put the protein powder in there?" And I'm like, "Babe, no, it's like processed and all that stuff, and you
Yep.
don't need." Taj said you don't need protein, like like
Mhm.
you think you do.
Yeah.
So we've done without the protein powder, and it's still been
Yeah.
good. But yeah, I mean, there is a thought in my mind of like, okay, so where do I go from here? Like,
Mhm.
how do I sustain this? Do I sustain this? Can I sustain this? So those are all very big thoughts in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we definitely can talk about that after you like right before your fast, right before your cleanse is over, and the transitioning and what that looks like. That's what we talk about before you're done. And if
Yeah.
you want, yeah, like how you want to continue, what's been working, what hasn't been working, what food ingredients you like, what don't you like. So
Mm-hmm.
and like how to swap out what it is that you're used to eating. For me, when I do mono fruit fasting or just mono fruit for a whole week, like I've been on watermelon, and now it's in season, so I typically eat what's in season, farmers market, or I'll go to the farm. And for me, because I mean, it's my lifestyle, it's my day to day, and supporting clients with this, it's much easier for me. And I know that not everyone has access to the farmers markets, right? Or you can't go, and it's like, hey, it's 10 o'clock at night, and I do my groceries for the week, right? But the farmers market isn't open at 10 at night. So
Yeah.
what do I do? And that's actually what we get to work on, like in our community, and see, hey, what's been working for other people, what's been working for you. We're all living here in this arena together, so like what do we do, and how is it sustainable? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
do have a question. Question that I've been wanting to ask about seeded watermelon, because you have in there, and you talked about it, about like seeded fruits, because the non-seeded fruits are essentially like genetically modified, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like where do you find seeded watermelon? Because at this point there's some seeds in the watermelon, but it's not like, it doesn't say seeded watermelon. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
every place that I've gone to, store, even the farmers market that we usually go to on Sundays, do not have any seeded watermelon.
Yeah. So today I feel terrible because when I get them, I want to buy so many for my local clients and family and friends, and I'm like, let me get 10 of those, right? Because I know everyone wants one. But today I went to Torrance Farmers Market, and I mean, they're in season, so it all just depends. And I mean, it's hit or miss, but I know some people go to Sprouts or Lassen's. I've never seen it in, the bigger supermarkets like a Ralph's or anything, but they may have them. So
Hmm.
it's hit or miss wherever you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
will definitely continue to look. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say I am, like I'm 98% on the cleanse. There's some parts that I've been, modifying because either I can't find it or what
Mhm.
have you. But yeah, the watermelon, I love watermelon,
Yeah.
but I have been doing the seedless watermelon because I'm like, I cannot find the seeded
Yeah.
watermelon
Yeah.
around.
I'll
And
bring
I've only gone to
I'll bring you
one,
one.
but Okay.
I'll bring you one. Okay. Yeah,
Thank
the other
you.
day, my client was like, I need something sweet. Like I'm craving. And I'm like, all right, I got you. I'll pull up. I got you. And for me, that is sharing the healthier options. And that feels really good, right? Because there are, you can get local ice cream, which is, Frozen Fruit Co., one of my favorite ice cream places. And it's made out of coconut, dates, and fruit. That's it.
Ooh.
So yeah, they're local in Santa Monica. And whenever I feel like, hey, I want ice cream or I want something cold, it's summertime, that's one of my go-tos. It's like, hey, I'm going for some coconut ice cream that's made with dates and fresh coconut. Like, awesome, I'm there.
Okay. So
Yeah.
as you've gone on this journey, you found places and local stores and things that support you in your journey.
Yes, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
love to share those resources in the group. And when you're connected with me and the community, we get to share all that information. Like, hey, where do I go for this? And I'm like, awesome. You can go to this restaurant if you want to eat out. This farmer's market if you're looking for this, because it's all about the seasons. And so, right now, again, watermelon is in season for some farmers. Some of them they're not going to have it because they just don't grow it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I just gonna say? And you were saying that, the summer is a time to do a cleanse or a detox because there are so many fruits that are available that are good and
Mm-hmm.
juicy and sweet. But yeah, watermelon has definitely been getting me through,
Yep.
peaches,
Yes.
nectarines, those
Yep.
types of things. Cherries have really been good.
Yes.
So like all of those things, I'm now like, oh, I can't wait to like, have some fruit or
Yep.
which I didn't think that I would say.
Yes.
I always knew I loved fruit, but not to this point,
Yeah.
when you're like, okay, this is like one of my meals or this is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like
Yep.
relying on this to give me nutrients and to give me energy
Yes.
to
Yep.
get through the day. So yes, I've definitely been excited about eating fruit now.
Yes. Yay. That's our natural fuel. And even I work with clients who are insulin resistance and dealing with so many different issues. And they're like, Taujma, are you sure I can eat the fruit? And I'm like, trust yourself. You can. You got this.
Yeah.
And they do. And they're like, wow, I have so much energy and I feel great. And my blood sugar levels are normal. So it's really beautiful to see that really what it is trust in yourself, going for it, trusting yourself, trying on something new that you're like, oh, wow, maybe this was debunked or this diet. That's why I always share, like, for me, it's a lifestyle. I'm not a vegan diet. I'm not a plant-based diet. I consume fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds. And that's it, right? Nothing else outside of that, because I know what's going to happen if I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like, one bite is probably going to cost me a week of being in the bed. Honestly, that's how sensitive I can get. And then I'm like, no way. I want to travel. I want to go have fun. I want to be there for my friends and family. So I can't be all in the bed feeling paralyzed because
Mm,
of one bite. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, to bring it back
Yep.
to you talking to your client about like insulin and insulin resistance and diabetes, essentially, yes, that's a big part of Western medicine. The discussion about you can't eat the fruits and the things that have a lot of sugar in it because your sugars are going to increase.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel yeah, I feel like food is something that we put into our mouths every day, all day. And how is it not going to affect our moods, our weight, our, like our thoughts, our,
Yep.
like the stuff that we look for in the blood, like your cholesterol and, your sugar and things like that. Like, how is it not going to affect it? And so, Actually, in medical school, we got very little information about nutrition. We
Yeah.
got probably 4 or 5 hours about nutrition.
Wow.
But we got tons and tons of information about medicine, pharmaceuticals, like what types of drugs act on what parts of the body. And I'm not putting down drugs at all. I'm not putting down, pharmaceuticals, because I feel like, yes, they can be helpful. But I feel like a part of me has seen the light and a part of me has seen the light of, like, there's alternative ways
Yes.
for us to work on these diseases that are in our bodies, besides pharmaceuticals, besides medicine, because it's $1 billion, probably $1 trillion, no, $1 billion industry of pharmaceuticals. And I mean, yes, there's a lot of information and studies that they do, and like legitimacy for certain medicines. But yeah, I agree. I think that, like, holistic and the food that you put in your body is way more important than the medicines that you're taking.
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure.
I've actually, we talked about this before, but What the Health was like a part of, which is like on Netflix. It's a
Yeah.
documentary talking about the food industry in the U.S. And how, like the how chickens are raised and how fish are raised, and like the conditions that they're in. And I mean, honestly, I was like, ew. I think I did my first vegan stint after I saw that show, because I was
Wow.
like, like this is nasty. Like what am I really consuming? Like, do I know what
Yeah.
I'm really consuming?
Hmm.
So What the Health was one of them. And then the most recent one that I saw is called You Are What You Eat. And
Hmm.
it's a twin experiment that they did. And kind of bringing it back to Viva La Vulva, it was an 8-week study that was published at the end of 2023, and they brought 22 twins together, 22 sets of twins together, and they put them on different diets. So one was on a carnivorous diet, and then one was on or omnivore diet, and then one was on a vegan diet. And they used, I mean, they had like a meal prep service that like sent them both options. So, like, who knows what was a part of that, but they had some good information about like lowering sugar, lowering your cholesterol. But one of the studies, one part of the study was sexual health. And
Hmm.
so the sexual health, like, numbers improved tremendously on the vegan diet compared to the omnivorous diet. Yes.
Yeah.
So bringing it back
Yeah.
to Viva La Vulva, you can
Yes.
improve your sexual health, not with the medicines that are out there that are also pretty limited, but on what you put in your mouth.
Yes, absolutely. And that's so, so important. Like, I noticed a big difference in like my sexual energy, sexual health, right? One that was prone to BV, prone to UTIs, simply because of the sugar in the breads, and I share it publicly because I'm like, look, I want to make this aware and known, because a lot of women are like a little afraid or nervous to share this and what's going on with their partners, with their gynecologists or their doctors. So it's, hey, if you cut those out, you can really improve so much instead of taking an antibiotic, that's killing your gut flora. And shift and change your diet, right? Instead of having that toast and eggs, and turkey or whatever for breakfast, switch it up to a fruit smoothie or some fruits, and you'll notice a huge difference for sure.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like uh you can do like 50% of it, or do you feel like you can do, like 75% of it and like still get the benefit of
In terms
the
of
plant-based?
like like 50% plant-based and then 50% none.
Other.
I think, yeah, or other, right? um, I'm not sure. You may, I mean, honestly, you'll feel a difference if you cut back, if you consume more fruits and veggies and you cut back on the dairy, the meat, the soy, refined sugar and starch, you're going to notice a difference. That's just, it's been time and time and time and trial and tried. So if you cleanse, like I always share my clients who aren't going to, be 100% plant-based, cleanse periodically every 60 to 30 days, fast, right? If hey, I eat meat once a month or every week, once a week. Okay, that's what you do. Let's cleanse, so that stuff is not being accumulated in the colon and it's sitting there, and now there's weight gain or there's infertility, brain fog, those types of things. So inflammation and mucus sitting in your colon. So I always say, I recommend cleansing periodically if you are going to consume foods that are acidic to the body.
Yeah. And I mean, my bowels have definitely been moving, let me tell you.
Right.
Like after almost each meal that I eat, I'm having a bowel movement, which is this is definitely different than what I've done before. I mean, I felt like I was good before with like one bowel movement, but I'm doing it like multiple times a day, and I'm like, okay, this is like, my stomach definitely feels better. Again, I feel less bloated. I feel less like, I never felt super tired after meals. But it does, it's definitely made a difference.
Nice. I love to.
It's
Look, get the flow going. That's toxins and waste coming out, right? So that's awesome. Mine would manifest, for me, constipation would manifest like on my chest and my face. I would have really bad in my back, acne before. And I was like, wow, why am I having acne? I was eating seafood, I was eating dairy, wheat, refined sugar. So it was just all sitting in my liver, sitting in my colon. It wasn't moving. Lymphatic system was just clogged. And then when I started cleansing, I started noticing things were clearing up, and my skin started glowing, and my chest was just clear. And I'm like, wow, this is like, I'm so addicted. I don't want to stop. When you talk about anything physical with the body, how would I want to put something that I know in my body is going to cause me harm, right? And especially like sexual health, that's like sexual energy, and how do I be there for my partner and be intimate and pleasure and all the things. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not eating that, because my vulva is not going to be happy, right? The vagina is going to be like, yo. And for women, or men or women in general, we'll say, oh, he threw my pH off, or she threw my pH off, and that person triggered me. And it's like, well, you probably went to Ruth's Chris last night. You guys ate mashed potatoes, steak and eggs.
It's probably the food that you ate. Yeah.
It's probably the food. So both of y'all do a cleanse, and let's see what's up, right?
Yeah.
And
I see so many people who come in and they are suffering from chronic vaginitis, which is like chronic like BV and yeast infections, and it's like a cycle. Like every month they're coming in, we test them, comes back as BV, bacterial vaginosis, or yeast. We treat them with a 7-day course of antibiotics, and maybe if they have Candida, then a pill, a yeast pill. So that's some people are receiving those treatments all the time. So it's a raw changing, not a raw vegan, but just changing their diet can definitely probably see a difference in their vaginal health.
Yes, for sure. And cleansing it out, ladies, wormwood, men, wormwood too. An amazing cleansing herb. Red clover, one of my favorites. And the education, right? The education and the information. We don't know. We only know what we know. So it's like, hey, hospitals are very accessible. Doctor's offices very accessible. Insurance will cover it, but insurance, a nutritional counselor or nutritionist and herbalist may not take, insurance. A holistic doctor or practitioner for sure, some of them will, but working one-on-one with me, sadly, it's not like, oh, insurance will cover it. It's all out of pocket. So we think about those things too. But once it's a one thing. So if, hey, you change your diet, you change your lifestyle, then you don't have to go to the doctor again. You don't have to take off time from work, the time away from your children, your family, your activities, when you're sitting in a doctor's office. Like I was so over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this is
Yeah.
very, very draining and costly.
And you take out one to like people talk about the money it takes to like buy organic food or to like like maybe see a nutritionist. But you're gonna balance it with like if you don't do that, like if there's the potential of you going to the doctors and you like spending money on medicines at the pharmacy and you getting certain treatments or like certain procedures. So it's a balance.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like what would you rather want? Yeah. So okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Taj, for this conversation. And I wanted you to let the audience know how they can work with you as a nutritional counselor, how they can do a cleanse with you, detox with you, or just stay in touch with you.
Absolutely. You can get in contact with me at thrivewithtaj.com and click on book a consultation and set up an appointment with me. And I will personally one-on-one reach out to you and we'll be working together.
Okay. How can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, at thrivewithtaj_ on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Taj, for being here and for being you and for partaking on this journey and being willing to share it with other people because I feel like it is very important and so much needed for us, especially as Black people to, with all the generational trauma that we've had, with all the the diabetes that we pass on to each other or the hypertension, like it is a part of genetics is a part of it, but also lifestyle and like your surroundings is a big part of it too. So you are definitely an inspiration and I thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Cara. Thank you for who you are as well. And this platform, Viva La Vulva, and you sharing your love and your gifts with everyone. And it means a lot, honestly. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with others, friends, family. Follow us on social media at Viva La Vulva LA. And that is it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Viva La Vulva podcast. Bye.
Thanks, Cara.